Hey guys, thanks for stopping by for another video here at All I See is W. In today's video, I have a lot to cover. We'll talk about the updates in the Bitcoin market, as well as giving you my latest updates with where I see price of Bitcoin, as well as strategy, MicroStrategy, MSTR, where the price is headed. Now, if you're new to this channel, first off, I would really appreciate you hitting the like, subscribing for more related content. We're looking at technicals for the price of Bitcoin now. One of the key things is, just looking back at 2024, we have to realize that Bitcoin, it went from like 40,000 where it currently is hovering at like 95,000 for the last 3 months since November timeframe. This is really good signals here, healthy consolidation. When you actually look at, the time frame of like April of 2024 before the November timeframe, we saw consolidation for months. I mean, it was actually consolidating for like half a year. But what we're seeing here, healthy consolidation for the last 3 months, that's where we're going to see that next gap up kick in. And what do I mean by the gap up kicking in, and why do I foresee that we're going to see that next leg up? Let's take a look here at the Bitcoin rainbow. So, one thing to keep in mind is for every halving event, Bitcoin tends to run up based on the data that we see. So, as we let the data tell the story here, you see Bitcoin price run up post halving event where it goes from like the blue to green accumulation phase. It's still cheap and it starts ramping up to the yellow, orange, and red hue. We haven't even seen Bitcoin break out since its recent halving event back in April last year. So as we get close towards 1 year post halving event, we're expected to see Bitcoin break through that yellow, orange, and red. And what does that mean? We're going to start seeing it start running up with the relative strength index, getting into that FOMO area of like plus 80 RSI. We haven't even got there yet. We're expected to see Bitcoin top off sometime as we transition towards Q4 of this year, especially with the time points that we've seen with the last historical runs. Bitcoin is going to run up to 200,000. Mark this. Of course, this isn't financial advice, but that's my forecast that Bitcoin has that potential to break out, especially with all of what we're hearing, global game theory. I think the level of effort is much different when we compare it to the prior halving events. The government's getting involved, state levels getting involved, different big time countries like Russia taking away the ban on mining. We're also hearing different countries using sovereign wealth fund to buy up Bitcoin, like the United Emirates. We hear El Salvador. We're hearing so many countries buying up Bitcoin along with Bitcoin ETFs being established. All of this is really going to drive up the price of Bitcoin. And one thing to keep in mind is there's only 21 million Bitcoins available. In fact, currently there's only about 1 million Bitcoins left to mine, which is 5% out of that 21 million. So when you think about economies of scale based on the supply and demand law of economics, that's only going to drive up the price of Bitcoin when you look at it from a long-term perspective. Let's take a look at just with the recent news we heard about Bybit hacking. Zach XBT identifies Lazarus as the culprit. So what we heard, yesterday was the fact that there was like a 1.5 billion hack, one of the biggest crypto heist hacks that we've heard about, where Bybit's CEO had to come out to announce news that the team is working constantly to investigate this case, not even sleeping, and found out that, this whole hack was carried out by North Korea's Lazarus Group. Crypto investigator here provided solid evidence linking them to the attack. So what does this all mean here? It's quite interesting as we, hear about the news in that there was Ethereum in the code chain when it was being transacted. That's where the hacker was able to, fund it into all of these different entities here. In fact, the hacker burned like $42 million of that value of Ethereum. But what does this mean when it comes to the crypto community? This is really what drove down the price of Bitcoin as well as all of the, crypto plays on Friday. However, what we're seeing now is some healthy consolidation. Even though price of Bitcoin, it went from like 99,400, dropped yesterday to like 95,000. That was only a 4,000 drop. I mean, especially with prior news, with any, you know, crypto hack that we've seen in prior events like FTX and all of that, that's where crypto markets tanked. But now we're seeing Bitcoin still in that $95,000, especially with this news here as well. That just shows the credibility of Bitcoin versus like Ethereum, and I think that's really going to drive up price of Bitcoin. But definitely some market hiccup with this news with Bybit getting hacked here. These states proposing strategic Bitcoin reserve. I mean, at one point, we're going to see the entire United States trying to implement and adopt strategic Bitcoin reserve. Just to keep in mind, there are several states. In fact, we just heard about Montana getting the decline on that. However, I think as soon as we hear a state like Utah, Arizona, or Texas getting approval to start buying up Bitcoin on their treasury, that's where things will reverse and they could always resubmit to the Senate, get approval. But you see here, there's 30 SBRs introduced. There's 25 live SBRs going on right now with total of 32 states here taking place. I mean, if you're not orange, you're gonna be just left behind here. But just going through all these measures here, you see different statuses here for all of the different states that are trying to adopt strategic Bitcoin reserve. But when you look here just on the status, you see Utah ahead of the game here at Chamber 2, and eventually we can get that Bitcoin strategic reserve be enacted. And then you have Arizona, Oklahoma as well. But it'll be interesting, big time Texas, as soon as they get towards that approval, I think that this is really going to be the precipice for Bitcoin to drive up in its share price. So we do see here just recently Montana, North Dakota, Pennsylvania, West Wyoming here didn't get the approval, but that doesn't mean that all of these active states trying to get proposal doesn't mean that they'll get disproved. I think that we're going to see quite a few states get approval, and as soon as that happens, all of these states will eventually resubmit and do it over again. But definitely state reserve race here. I think the top 5 states that get approval, they're going to really build on the state, especially with monetary value. Let's take a look here with this posting from Axel. Strategy is raising another 2.5 billion to buy Bitcoin at 98,000 per coin. They can buy about 25,000 more Bitcoins to their hodl. 25,000 added to 478,000. You do the math there. That means MSTR would then hold over 500,000 Bitcoins. So you can technically say over 500,000 Bitcoins. When you look at it through the lens of 21 million Bitcoins, having over 500,000 Bitcoins, that's just crazy. Eventually, MSTR will be like the global, like cyber space ecosystem where governments, global countries will, focus around MSTR because of the amount of Bitcoin they have on their treasury. Let's take a look at this posting from Bitmaster. 270K for Bitcoin gives a 3,500 dollar price with MSTR share price. This is according to the MSTR ballistic acceleration model, which thus far has been accurate. So definitely some bullish number. Bitcoin going up to 216K, estimated MSTR share price of 3.5K. You're not bullish enough. Love the bullish comments here. You never know. Anything is possible, especially with Bitcoin price doubling up in the year 2025. The Saylor carry trade, minting Bitcoin with fiat liabilities. Imagine a casino where you can borrow chips for nearly zero interest and bet on the hardest asset in human history. That's what Saylor is doing, except his collateral is the crumbling fiat economy itself. Every dollar MSTR borrows depreciates in purchasing power faster than the interest owed, thanks to the structurally high inflation and monetary debasement. Meanwhile, Bitcoin follows its logarithmic price appreciation model, historically compounding at 60% over the last decade. If Bitcoin appreciates even at a conservative 30%, Saylor is absorbing the world's excess fiat, turning it into asymmetric Bitcoin exposure and weaponizing traditional finance's old tools against itself. This is the trade of the century. The bears and those who haven't done their due diligence to understand the playbook will get shaken out, and it will be their biggest regret in life. Do not get distracted by the price action on the micro scale. This is the uncharted territory for a Bitcoin treasury company. We are part of something bigger than anyone realizes. So love that bullish comment from Adam Livingston here. Just with the recent correction that we've seen with MSTR. Yes, from a near-term perspective, we've seen some pullback here. However, to Adam's point, I think the fundamentals, the story that Saylor continues to tell, we're still not out of the woods. There's so much upside, especially with MSTR, really the titan of all the companies. They're the only company that has the most amount of Bitcoin. You factor that in, looking at it from the future of Bitcoin, think about when Bitcoin goes to $21 million or $1.5 million in the near term here. Think about the market capitalization of MSTR. At one point, they will be like the top number one company where they will bypass like the Mag 7 companies, multi-trillion dollar company at one point. So where we are, we're still early in the game, with this recent consolidation, healthy pullback, it's really just the volatility here that's expected, but it's going consistent with the 3 month consolidation with Bitcoin. But as soon as Bitcoin gaps up, we're going to start seeing that bullish reverse pattern here, reaching that 750. It could possibly go towards that direction in April, but as Bitcoin gets, beyond the $200,000 at a minimum, we could very well break through that $1,200. So 4x from where we currently are with the current price. So with that, I want to play a recent clip of Saylor here. So let's have Saylor take it away.
People that use fiat currency as a store of value, there's a name for them. We call them poor. Okay. Anybody that's rich in the world, they own property. They own large swathes of land. The royal family of England, it didn't sell all of its property in central London in order to buy currency or paper money. Nor did the royal family of Japan, nor did the royal family in the Middle East. In fact, they want to own the property forever. I want you to imagine Bitcoin it's a city in cyberspace that's 276 blocks wide, 276 blocks high, 276 blocks deep, about 21 million blocks. Now imagine all 8 billion people in the world want to live there one day. They want to put their capital there. There's $900 trillion of wealth in the world. As people migrate from every other form of property and assets into cyberspace, you're going to see the Bitcoin network go from $1 trillion network to a 10x that to 100x that. And there really is nowhere else to go. It is the apex property of the human race.
So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video at alliseeisW. If you're new to this channel, first off, hit the like, subscribe, turn on the bell notification, and let me know what your thoughts are, what your predictions are. Any questions that you have, leave it down in the comment. I read through everything and I love the feedback that you provide. So let me know on how I can improve. And thank you for stopping by. You all have a wonderful day. Thank you.